Hey guys, it is KlaireeBerry, and we're now to the part of the program where we're kind of wrapping things up. And I want to, I have just some notes that I want to talk about. I don't really have a set title yet for this video. I'm sure it'll come to me, or I have, like I said, pages of notes here. And I just want to, I know some of it's going to be maybe a little bit of a repeat of something that I said because, I either want to expand on it or just reiterate that it's very, very important. I also want to kind of reiterate the fact that this is a lifestyle. This is a process. This is not a one and done and you're healed and you're moved on. Okay. There's always things that you can get better on. There's always ways that you can improve upon the situation, or the old thoughts, beliefs, expectations that we have for ourselves and for our life. And again, even if you may not feel like you have a lot of, like inner child work to do, left to do, however that's showing up, then, you may realize that in the future you do, or, like it's okay to take breaks and then go back and revisit it later. Okay. I want to really, again, recommend recording the shadow work. Okay. That is just really, really helpful. And I think that's kind of how I have been able to just keep going really deeper with this. And again, I'll do it when I'm busy. I'll do it when I'm driving. I'll put the little video in the thing, or even just set it down and just get the voice clips of what I'm saying. And because sometimes, we get emotional or we're just busy and then we get distracted, something happens and we totally lose our train of thought, but we were about to hit on something big. So having that recording, you can go back to it, maybe get back to it at a better time when you have, if you start to get emotional, you got to cut it off right now because you got to get ready for work, and then you're like, okay, well, I can come back to this later, but at least I know exactly. And again, a lot of this stuff you're going to be, I think of it like a ball of chi, like we're manipulating it, we are processing it, we are trying to understand it, and it's fluid, and it's our understanding of it is going to change. So every time you may do your inner child healing on one main topic, and again, I've kind of touched on this before, one main event, one main thing in your life, but you're going to deal with different aspects, different sides, different energies of that same event or trauma. Every time you do it, it's going to be a little bit different. And I do really recommend doing this on a daily basis. Whether it's shadow work, whether it's inner child healing, I feel like we are at the point in society where we need people to be doing this. Again, not just for you and your personal self and your personal relationships and your personal energies, but to share, and how the energies are always emanating off of us into the world. And I always talk about that. So definitely record the stuff, and it's good. You can even go back and, even watch it way later on down the road and then realize, wow, like I really did get so far. Okay. And you can also kind of critique yourself and change up things, like if you catch yourself, like let's say, even if it's not that later on, you're just looking at it a day or so later, an hour or so later, you can kind of get better ideas and critique and kind of perfect the mantras and the things that you take away. Okay. Or like when you're doing the inner child healing work, you're trying to figure out, what does this child need? This child is in pain. What do they need? And the first couple times you do it, you may think of one thing. And then later on, and it may take watching it or doing it again, to kind of realize what else that child needs and build on that and build on that. The more you give to yourself in this way, the more you will receive in every way in life. The more happiness you will be able to feel, the more positivity you will be able to not only feel, but also spread. Okay. I actually just got done with another session and it's powerful. I'm still crying. I'm still figuring out ways, even though I thought before, I think I said that before in the program, well, I've healed now. And, then I stopped. No, it's like, do not have the tendency to like look back and be like, oh, that's the old me. It's completely done now. Like keep on going with it. Okay. Almost every problem in our lives, I've really fully realized this. literally every negative personality trait, everything in our lives has to do with your inner child trauma, okay? It has to do, and it doesn't have to be from actual childhood. It could be from adolescence or even young adulthood or whatever, but usually during the younger stages of life is when these big letdowns happen, these big disappointments, these big initial traumas. You know what I mean? Like you get fucked up eventually, like before you get too far into life. Usually, if not, I guess consider yourself maybe lucky or not, regardless. Because again, the more pain that you have, and the deeper, the realer it is, then the better you're able to be equipped to help other people in the future. So it is a gift in some ways. And so just pay attention, and again, there's so many different ways that you can start it. Sometimes I start my inner child healing by doing shadow work. Sometimes I just consciously say, I'm going to do my inner child healing right now. Okay. But I know that, if you're trying to kind of ease into the shadow work, pay attention to what is habitually coming up. Pay attention to the themes that are coming up during your shadow work. Okay, these are the things that we tell ourselves on a daily basis that we're not conscious of, the complaints, the stories that we say. Everybody's always fucking me over. Everybody's always leaving me. What the fuck? And I even, I said that to myself. My best friends always moved away. That's the extent that I would let myself, because I don't like those negative phrases, so I never let myself say, oh, everybody leaves me, everybody ditches me. I didn't notice how deep it was. But all of it put together, again, and I've talked about this, when you're looking at this side of your life and, there's that. And I always have related to disrespect, because that's the theme that would just like come up. Either it's disrespect or some kind of neglect, some kind of ditching me, not having my back, fucking me over in those ways. That was my theme that would come up over and over again in the shadow work. And I finally realized like it really related to my inner child healing. I was absolutely disrespected, used and abused, and then neglected as soon as I stood up for myself. So it kind of set that up. It was that perfect recipe to have that sort of thing happen, to where I felt like people were just, like my kids were using me, like I'm just give, and they're just take. And that kind of energy. And again, with my relationships across the board, it showed up. And you make a note of those bigger themes and those underlying things. And then you go into the inner child healing off of what you've learned from your shadow work. Okay, again, almost every single problem in your life, especially if it's repetitive, can be traced back to some kind of, again, I say trauma all the time, but trauma, I think for some people, it indicates a really bad trauma. It could be a lesser trauma that was just emotional. It could be words that people spoke to. It doesn't have to be physical abuse, but there's a spectrum, obviously. Okay, so don't be afraid to switch the switch work up and do it in your own way and use it interchangeably. Okay, the trauma on whatever level, again, is what creates this vibration that we're on. It's this feeling. For me, it's here. For you, it could be anywhere. That's why during the shadow work, you want to locate that and sit with it for a minute, because then you'll be able to go back to maybe when you first started feeling this feeling. And again, you don't have to have a clear memory. You don't have to have a clear time, place, space. It can be very vague. It can be just the emotional feeling, but it's going to, if you give yourself enough time, space, energy to kind of allow yourself to sit with this energy and this pain, then you will eventually be able to apply it, to a previous circumstance or trauma. And sometimes, it may be one that was not so long ago. It might be a secondary trauma. And then the next time you do it, you're going to realize, maybe it's something that you completely blocked off that you don't remember. Okay. It's just very important to pay attention to this. Again, it's the pain. The pain is there for a reason, just like you put your finger to the flame and it's burned. So you remove your hand from getting burned. The pain is a signal. It's a symbol. It's a warning sign. It says, hey, pay attention to what's going on. And that is exactly what our negative emotions are doing. And I always say on the flip side, follow your positive emotions as well. They are trying to tell you where you should go, what you should do rather than what you should not do, or I feel like your positive is what you should do in the future, and your negative is kind of what needs to be dealt with your past. We cannot change what happened to us, but we can change the way we processed it, the way we feel about it, the way we wrap it up, tidy it up, package it up, and move on with your life. And if we don't deal with this, it will bubble up. It will pop up. Okay? So use the shadow work to identify, to get a better, deeper understanding, and then go into the deeper inner child healing work. Okay? I guarantee you it's deeper than you think. I guarantee you there's more to deal with. Hey, kitty. Than you know. My black cat walking by with the shadow work. Okay, so I do it, like I said, I do it all the time. And I take, not only do I like to, well, here's the thing is you may not want to do the shadow work, like do the whole process, do the meditation all the time. Sometimes it may be so deep that it really knocks you out. It really makes you go to kind of a negative place. You may want to, it depends on you. If you're feeling strong, if you have time and energy, obviously, if you're on vacation with your family or you're having a big bunch of work go on, you may not want to delve into doing, a bunch of shadow work every single day. You may want to do it in smaller increments or, make sure and wait till a time when, again, you have some energy, because it can bring you down, especially if you haven't really figured out what to give back to that child. Okay, so that's kind of the part that you don't want to leave out. You don't just want to do the healing work, be like, oh my God, or get into it and then be like, oh, this sucks. I'm going to stop and not deal with this. That's not a good thing to do. And like I said in one of the last couple of videos, do the mood boosters, do the mental, the emotional, the physical, and do it over time and build yourself back up, because that's what we're doing is we're rebuilding ourselves. It's like we're putting the pieces back together of our broken past. Okay. But you can do the end result. It's just like, I think I said this before in one of the last videos about the shadow work. Those last lines on the square, the bottom part where we flipped it usually comes, we start with a negative, so you end up with a positive. That can be a good mantra in the present. Say it in the present and in the positive, and say those things to yourself all the time. Again, post-it notes, make a video, listen to it before you go to bed, as you're going to work, whatever. You can do that dialogue all the time. You can talk to yourself and tell that story, pretend like you're talking to your best friend. Well, I've done all this healing work and now I'm feeling so great. I've gotten over so much. It's helping me so much. Now I'm getting here. I'm able to do this. I'm feeling like my twin flame relationship is so great. But you can also do that, and should do that, maybe even more importantly, for the inner child healing work. So you're taking, again, the end result, which is what you, or, you're visualizing whoever that person was, your mother or your father or your brother or your uncle, whatever, to come in and build you back up. And they are telling you things. They are giving you physical touch. They are, all the love language things. They're helping you on a mental level, an emotional level, physical level. And over time, they're there for you. You can look at it, and remember, the 4 elements ways and the tarot, or you can look at it as all the love languages. And I like to do both. Sometimes one thing comes to me faster. Sometimes the other thing comes to me faster. But, those are the things. They're telling you they're there for you. You're telling yourself, baby girl, I'm here for you. I will always be here for you. Telling you, showing you, giving time, and doing things for you. Okay, all of these things, you can just visualize those things. Again, write them down. Make it a song. Make a video of just that, and listen to that. And that really helps you, again, to fill yourself up, fill that inner child up, so that it's filling that love cup up, so that you're able to receive it from other people. Because as long as we're still in the vibration of the pain, and that deep unseated pain is, worse than anything we can actually know about, because that's where the confusion comes in, and that's where we get away with not dealing with it for so long, because we don't even know. How can you deal with something if you don't know? So that's why we have this whole process, okay? Make it a habit. And eventually it'll get to a point where it's not even necessarily you're even going through the stages of saying, okay, this is me, or my mom's talking to my inner child. This is just how you will start to talk to yourself on a daily basis. You will start to just look in the mirror every day and be like, I love you. I'm here for you. You know, and you can still visualize the little inner child on the inside if you want. That is fine, okay? But the shadow work will really help you, okay? People will be able to be there for you. A lot of our neglect, again, is people ditching us, people treating us shitty, or not being there at all, which is still the same thing. It's people not showing us care and love. That's really all it is, okay? So really, a lot of our themes are going to be the same. You know, loving yourself, okay? We are basically, until we deal with this, we are basically projecting these negative feelings onto everybody else. And that's why a lot of these twin flame and a lot of these just male, female, masculine, feminine energies are always sort of the same. And not to say that females experience more pain, but they, you know, they go through it in certain ways. Okay, sorry. So we're basically walking around projecting that pain we're feeling onto other people, and you know, again, it's usually this feeling of not being loved. So whenever we're basically blocking, you know, people from loving us, and a lot of times that's what happens is, you know, we feel a deep love for other people, you know, when we meet people, when we meet our twin flame, when we meet our soulmate or something, and then it's like we have this fear that they're going to leave us. So we either act like a fool, leave them first, or just nag, project, you're doing this, you're cheating, you're this and that, worrying, just acting general crazy, and that scares our, you know, masculine off, who already has the energy usually of being a little bit slower to kind of understand on the inward side of what's, you know, that love is going on about. Again, I'll probably do a whole twin flame program on this in relationship to this, but this definitely will help. This is in fact, how I even got into such a deep level on this is through the Twin Flame community and Sophia Charles. So props to her as well. You can find her at Twin Flame Community on YouTube if you want to check her and her services out. So again, a lot of it's respect, a lot of it's love. And, you know, that's why this self-love is starting to come out as such a good concept, because our collective is going through this together. We're all going through this healing process kind of together. And we're starting to touch on it. You know, we're starting to realize we need to focus on ourselves. We're starting to realize we need to fill our own love cups up, but we're starting to take it to a much deeper level. Okay. So it, you know, if we don't deal with this stuff, it will play out, it will bubble up, and it will keep on repeating itself until it is dealt with. Okay. And a lot of times it's like that bottle, you bottle it up. It's bottled up for so long, it just automatically will literally come out explosively, you know, like this bottle that's been shaken forever and then it's open, you know, explosion. And, you know, I even just experienced that. You know, I was talking with my twin flame, and something that really didn't have to do with me just made me kind of go back to this feeling. And instead of creating an argument or pulling away, running away, you know, being vague and, you know, this and that, I mean, I couldn't hide it. I'm not a hiding my emotions person anyway. Everybody's going to deal with this stuff in their own. So kind of relate it to yourself and how you deal with stuff. But, you know, like I said, the thing, it was not a big deal. It didn't even have to do with me, but I automatically, my heart started beating really fast and I started getting upset. And again, I wanted to run, I wanted to cry, and I'm like, why? And then it didn't take me long to be like, obviously this is, you know, something from my past. And because I've dealt with it so much now and I've come so far with my inner child healing work, that I knew pretty much immediately, like, this is what this is, because I know the feeling now. I know exactly what it is, and I know how it manifests in life. And it manifests for me, and I want to be very open with this, not only for myself to kind of walk through even further, but to kind of relate it to you guys. And I just think it'll help, you know, if you know what I'm talking about, and then you can relate it to your own feelings and situations. But for me, it was this feeling of being left out, you know, and I realized that this feeling and this kind of fear, you know, the feeling creates the fear, and that it's going to keep happening and all of this stuff. It's me being left out because of what happened to me as a child. It's me feeling used and left out, but ultimately left out. And it really manifests in every single aspect again, like even of my personality, like how I actually relate to others. I kind of tend to a lot of times have a very quick and to the point, and it's kind of a protective mechanism for me to not let people get obviously too close. But it's kind of like, it was kind of like going along with this whole idea of, oh, these people are just going to get what they want from me and then they want to move on. When in reality, people kind of want to, this is funny because I was actually just watching a Parks and Rec show last night, episode last night that kind of dealt with this, where Anne is like trying to get April and Ron Swanson to talk to her. And it like so resonated with me because I'm kind of that person who doesn't like all that small talk. Like, I just feel like people want something and they're not really interested in the true me and they're just going to leave anyway. So I might as well not even, get close. And I think that's obviously very common in this day and age to kind of have that, maybe not play out exactly the same, but that underlying kind of feeling. It just might manifest differently for you and how you react. But anyway, I was able to realize and I was able to verbalize that. And, my partner knows, my twin flame knows, the trauma. He knows that I've been doing inner child healing work. We talk every day. So he, was very understanding, and it helps him to be able to know, like, this isn't about you. I can tell that you're upset a little bit, but, I can verbalize, hey, I'm not angry. And then it doesn't turn into something else, create, again, additional problems, because I'm able to, and then I did, and then I realized at that time, because it's bubbled up, again, the pain happens, and that's your sign that you need to deal with it. So, and that can be your habit too, to kind of just wait until it bubbles up and then deal with it. But, why wait too? On the other hand, if you have time, if you have space, if you have a vacation, if you have a nice weekend, especially in Scorpio season or something, like this is where we're at right now. We're coming into Scorpio season. So I've been talking about this all week in my videos, but, deal with it when and as you can and as it works for you. And I would love to have comments down below, or emails if you want to do it privately, KlaireeBerry@gmail.com, and just let me know like how the different ways that you might kind of deal with this, manifest it, etc. Okay. So I'd love to hear your feedback. And of course, the Unlimited Direct Coaching Club, it's a lifelong coaching club. It's a Facebook group. Right now it's only $11.11, but check KlaireeBerry.com for the up-to-date prices on that at all times if you're watching this video at a later date. That's a good place where if you want to keep on asking questions of me and like have help with it, then you can definitely check that out. Okay. But I want to touch for just a second more on kind of this pain metaphor, because the pain, like I said, with the flame and with the stovetop, and we put our hand on there, it really does bring your attention to it, to where you can deal with it and you can fix the situation and protect yourself. Okay. But it also has to do with, as this stuff is just like inside of us and it's just playing out, these events, these things, these patterns, they just keep on happening. And we're like, why? We don't know until we deal with this stuff. And then we're like, it literally will put if you do it enough, like I said, the deepest levels of your mundane personality, the way you interact, relate with people, it all has to do with how you're relating to yourself. It's so deep. And like I said, every little thing, it'll just bubble up and you'll be able to put it into perspective and be like, that's why I'm like that. That's why I like this. That's why I liked that at that point in my life. It's crazy. It's crazy deep. And it's awesome. It's very cool to be able to like be that powerful and also be able to kind of step back from, like, it reminds me of Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth book or something, where he's like saying, you are not your personality. You are not your thoughts. You are not even, you're not even your feelings. Like, we are beyond this. This is put on us. This is evolved on how we deal with things. Like I said, how we relate with ourselves and how we related to our trauma. Okay. So I also just want to kind of bring up the metaphor of like when we have pain, you have inflammation. And everybody thinks about inflammation as such a bad thing. It's caused by foods. We want to avoid it, yada, yada, yada. But really, inflammation is it's like antibodies. It helps you. It's like what goes in and attacks, well, maybe not attacks. Like the antibodies attack the negative thing that came in. But with the inflammation, it goes there to, bring what is needed to the situation. Okay. So again, it shows as pain because the inflammation's there and because, things are fucked up. But if that pain wasn't there, then your brain would not get that signal to heal that. And that is exactly what is happening with this stuff that's bubbling up. So that's why guys, I'm getting chills. This is being woke. This is being conscious. We don't just need to be conscious of what's going on the outside in the world, because what can you ultimately do about it? Yeah, you can try to raise awareness. You can try to tell people about the, these imbalances of power and educate people. But a lot of times people can only operate off of the level that they're on. This is why leading by example is so important. Okay. Getting out of this slavery system, getting out of this, mundane, shallow lifestyle that we're all is pushed on us. This is why we have to start from within. Okay. And this is why we are leaders. You are a leader in learning this stuff. You're going to be able to not only tell people about it, but show people about it. And the showing is what's really important, because people won't know if you know what you're talking about really unless they see that it's working for you. Okay. So love yourself enough to invest in yourself by getting the program, doing the program, working it, doing it on a regular basis. Okay. So what else do we have here? Let me get a little drink here. Doing the switch work, it will really help you kind of with your identity. Again, you'll know why you're doing certain things. You'll be able to heal. Okay. And then you can, like I said, do it for the initial trauma. You can do it for the consecutive traumas, all the consecutive traumas. You know what I mean? You're not going to put it all together in one day. Okay. It's a lifestyle. So again, you sometimes may have to boil it down, because again, when this came up and I'm like, oh, well, at first when you do the shadow work, you're like, oh, well, so-and-so's, just being rude. And it's like, okay, saying how am I being rude to myself? That doesn't really help. So again, boil it down to the basic, emotional frequency of what's happening. And that'll help you to kind of reframe it a little bit better. Okay. So, I want to talk a little bit about, when the, person comes in, or with me again, Mama C, which is actually myself, comes in. It's okay to also envision the angels, or like I said before, Jesus. You can envision yourself as an angel, which I think we're all going to get there eventually. Once we get enlightened, I think that's what happens, is we turn into angels. I have a video on that very, very early on my KlaireeBerry Sanctuary page, or channel. It's about some Essenism. I don't know. Ask me if you want to figure out what that is, if you can't find it. But anyway, want to talk a little bit more about this coming in. The angels are so, I just think of the angel wings as so soft and comforting and really protective, so feel free to go that route, and the angel can just swoop in, and help you out when you need it. And again, you could be going through, say, this bubbling up that I just had, this little mini explosion that happened. I had all this emotion bubble up, and it's okay. And at that moment, even if I didn't have time to go all the way through the meditation of dealing with, the work, going through to the trauma and then going through, remember, if you kind of have it already set up to where, you already know some of what you might have need, you want this physical touch, you wanted that from your Mama C or your person or the angel or whatever, then I think I'm just going to call him angel from this point forward, just so that I don't have to keep on saying this, and that. But, again, if that happens, you just know automatically to go. And again, if you don't have enough time, you can, or if you've already done it a lot and you're kind of already spent, or emotionally too low to go back to that low, or if you don't feel it's necessary for whatever reason, then just go straight to the angel. Again, physical touch, time. I always do time last because I feel like that's a natural extension, but, words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts and services. Okay. And, or the 4 elements way to look at it as well. Like I said, and just go straight to building yourself up. So when it happens, when you have emotional things happen, do it. But also, like I said, it's best to just do it like all day, every day. Make it really a lifestyle to where you're just visualizing it all the time, and it will get more real and it will get more deep the more you do it. It may sound silly to you guys, and it reminds me of that oh god, I can't think of that Saturday Night Live skit. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I'm thinking like Lemony Snickets or something. I don't think that's right, but he's like, damn it, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. It's like, it's so corny. And but this is what really does help. It really can help. And I would guarantee that it works if you do the work. Okay? Like, I will give you your money back if you buy the program and it doesn't work and I really feel like you've been doing it. But I feel like if you're going to have issues and be like, oh, this isn't working, then it's probably just like you're not doing it enough. You haven't got deep enough into it yet. Okay, a lot of us, again, are going to have different levels of burying this stuff. Some people's may be buried under the surface and easy to get to, and then some people may have more trauma that's way deep that just really needs to be repeatedly addressed and repeatedly, dug down to find, okay? So it is kind of a process, again, and I've talked about this too, about figuring out what it is that child needed. And again, that's why it'll get better over time. Once you visualize it, once you're there, once you spend more time with it, you'll think of new things, that you might have wanted, that you might have needed at that time. You know what I mean? So, again, show and tell, it's not just telling, it's all the possible actions that could have helped you at that time. Literally, the sky's the limit. You cannot do this too much. And I think the tendency is to think, oh, well, am I going to spoil my inner child just like I'm spoiling the kid? Like, no. Your inner child has spent how many years now in this negative state? You cannot spoil your inner child. You give them whatever their hearts desire, okay? I don't care if you think it's going to make you into a diva and spoil you. No, it's not, okay? Because your intentions are pure, okay? We needed someone, and we're showing up for our own selves on whatever level. Or you're asking angels, asking Jesus to come in, or whoever, whatever entity that you want to use, or it could just be the angel or the energy of like love and light. Again, whatever resonates for you, take it, make it your own. And again, your own spin on things, your own, your own trauma, you're going to be able to tell your story and help other people as well. And eventually you will get to the point where you look back and you're like, wow, I've really come a long way. And it doesn't, it's better late than never. You can do this at any time. Okay. This is the basis of unconditional love. Okay. Forgiving yourself for whatever, and eventually you end up forgiving the other parties as well, because it just helps with that. If you haven't been able to do that yet, it will help with that. Okay. So again, we just go back to that. We just feel that feeling of that negativity on this inner child healing, and we just go back. We just go back. So, again, with my situation, Mama C, basically ended up showing me, and it's just that frequency of being able to accept it. Because as a kid, whenever things happen, that's framing your life. That's setting the foundation for how you think the world is going to treat you, for how you think, like what you can expect out of life. And these expectations are powerful. And so if you felt, like nobody loved you, like you were neglected, nobody was there for you, okay, then that's what you're going to get, is nobody being there for you. You feel neglected. You feel left out. Okay. But when you show up for your inner child, when you take care of it, when you show yourself that, yeah, she loved you. And really, you're just giving yourself your own energy. But you've probably heard the phrase before and talking about how, like, fill up your own cup, love yourself before anybody else can love you. This is the deeper level of that. We have a lot of these truths, that go around that people think are cliches because they are overused. People like just understand them on the truth of it's like Christianity or a lot of the religions. People just understand the very basic principles, and the rest of it kind of almost gets perverted and lost in the culture and whatnot. But they are deep truths. And if we just will get down to the bottom of them, we will be able to see. But your angel or whatever will show you that people do love you. People do show up for you. They can, and they will, in a wholesome way. And that will allow you to be able to love, respect, show up for yourself, and allow other people to do that too. Because again, it's all about the frequency, and it's even about our unconscious focus as our subconscious focus, as well as our conscious focus. So that's why people try to do the law of attraction, and they're not getting anywhere, because their inner child, this stuff is blocking their way, because their true frequency is not what they're thinking at that time, and they may do 10-minute meditation on trying to get rich or whatever, but they're still blocking, their being able to receive whatever it is. And again, money and stuff, it's just energy. And so I think all of the energy, again, it's together, it's holistic. They're kind of intermingled, they intermingle in our lives. So if you feel like nobody shows up for you, nothing good ever happens for you, nobody likes you, then that'll probably translate over to your money as well. Like, your relationship with money is just another relationship. This is just how we relate to the world. Okay? So you give yourself what you need. You give yourself that respect. You give yourself, you picture yourself. And again, I had to go with over time, because being neglected happened over time. So when I do my visualizations, I go back and I visualize, my angel, Mama C, being there over time, in times of need, and also just any time before I could even need, a time. And it does help me reframe and tell a different story about my childhood. Again, if I do the dialogue, if I do the interview, my story is going to be completely different. And so in some way, I am changing reality. Because reality, we all know, what's that Higgs thing, where we realize, that energy relates to us, just by us observing it, just by us being there. And so that's what this is. We're altering it. You can alter this energy. This is metaphysics. Okay, this is very deep shit. And again, the world needs to know this. So any way that you can help this, if you want to have the rights to sell this program, talk to me about it, and we can figure that out. Okay, we can work on that. Okay. We need to break these enslaving beliefs, these beliefs and expectations. This is why this is why they want us in, or even if you don't want to resonate with that idea of it, but that's just the way that, because that's on our inner, because because we all have this trauma on the inner, then that's what shows up on the outside. It's a manifestation. Or you could think about it as they want to keep us that way. They want to keep us fucked up. They want to keep us, in a state of need. And yeah, I have no qualm saying that, because again, even if it's just like on a corporate level, they want us feeling like shit. So we will buy things to make ourselves feel better, that we don't need. They don't want us just buying the bare minimum, being minimalist. No, they want us giving them everything. So they don't, they almost help to create issues and create problems, so that there's this lower vibration on the earth. This is why I really honestly feel like this is why this has a lot to do with the whole setup of the food industry, and why there's so much pain and torture. You don't think that goes